Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Hot Topics. And it is not me today. There is some issue going on with the interwebs. I don't know. I also think it's Andy. Andy's on CP time today because Andy's computer crashed.
Yeah, sorry
Andy,
about
what
that.
happened?
I don't know. Everything just went gray. I couldn't click anything in StreamYard, and I had to restart.
You had to restart the whole thing?
I had to restart Chrome.
Oh my gosh. What are we going to do with Andy? So anyways, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. How are you guys? Let me know where you're streaming from. Someone said Tuesdays. I know. It feels like a Monday because nothing was working. I was like, I can't get my YouTube to work. I can't message the Lemonheads. I don't know what's going on. Is anybody else having trouble with Google or Chrome? Because that's where we are right now. So welcome to the program, everybody. Lafayette, Louisiana. Someone's here. Atlanta is here. From Mississippi, Pasadena, Maryland. I've never heard of Pasadena, Maryland. South Chicago, Tennessee. Yeah. So glad you guys are here. Sorry we're a little bit late. Hello, New Jersey, Cheryl Jones. Hello, Chicago. Hello, Josie. Okay, here's a weird thing. This administration is, they're not even hiding it anymore. They're just telling you, look, we are going to be racist and towards anybody other than white people, right? That is where we are right now. That is the God's honest truth. And by the way, just one more. I want to give one more shout out to the Biden family because I think they went through unnecessary grief, and they're going through unnecessary grief right now with so many people attacking them, considering the man has prostate cancer and the family's going through a lot of stuff. And people seem to have their priorities all screwed up, all wrong about where it should be placed on someone who is not in the White House right now, not a public servant anymore, spent his life being a public servant and fighting for justice and doing the best that he could under some horrific circumstances. When you think about Joe Biden, how long he has been around, the things that he had to deal with, he had to work with segregationists. I think, Peter, you sent me that quote last night. It's from a book saying, talking about how the Democratic elite were, yelling at Joe Biden because he said in a book or somewhere that he had to work with segregationists. And then black people were like, of course, if you were in the South in that time, you had to work with segregationists to get shit done.
Yeah. Do you want me to read the quote quickly?
Yeah, we have the quote somewhere. I don't know if we can find it, but I just
have it. It's quote, I remember vividly a focus group we did with black voters in South Carolina in late June and early July of 2019. Biden was being attacked by the left elite of the party for saying he had worked with segregationists in his time in the Senate. Despite what progressives were saying, black primary voters in South Carolina felt that Biden's work with segregationists was another good reason to support him for president. As participants in his focus group pointed out, if you were black and lived in the South under Jim Crow, you too had to work with segregationists. While the Democrats' ecosystem was criticizing Biden for inaction, actual voters in key places were praising him for the exact same thing.
And I feel that, thank you, Peter, for that. I feel the same way about what's happening now. When I told you about everyone said, well, Biden was this, Biden was that. Biden's an old man. Okay. One day you're going to be an old man if you're lucky enough, or an old woman. One day you will be, if you're lucky enough. And all of those people who are criticizing Joe Biden or whatever, what have you spent your life doing? What kind of public service have you spent your life doing? How have you helped the American economy? How have you helped the American people? What have you done? How much tragedy have you gone through? Considering, by the way, look at the pigeons outside that window. I think they're pigeons. Oh, no. Those are not. Those are mourning doves. Woo! I hear them in the morning. Crazy. So anyways, yeah. What have you done? And so that's why it is galling to me. And I don't understand why exactly people are doing what they're doing and why there's so much focus. Mostly the focus is on cable news. And a lot of it is in right wing, pretty much everyone, the right wing pundits and cable news. They're in this whole Biden thing. And as I told you before, when you had the opportunity to do it when Biden was in office at the appropriate time, that's perhaps when it should have been done. All of this criticism. That way it would have been, at least he could have responded to it. But now I don't get it, what the play is here. I really don't understand what the play is here. Is it clout? Is it money? Is it what? Is it to, I don't know. I don't know. But anyways, so shout out to the Biden family. Joe Biden, Dr. Joe Biden, all of the Bidens that are dealing with, because look, I have recently gone through some a tragic situation in my family life. And if people were focusing on the negative, I would tell them to go fuck off. And mind your own business. Get some business of your own. And once you are perfect, when you are perfect, and when you are without sin, then you can cast the first stone. But when you are with sin, shut the fuck up. Go do something else. Find some busy work to do. Okay? All right. Okay. So, hey, everybody. Good morning. Okay. I haven't done it yet. You guys know how I feel about this. It is real. My love for this is real, because I'm going to do something and I'm going to show you something that's kind of weird and then kind of not, because it's real. So I've been taking this stuff. And since I was a kid, I've always had my hair grows really fast. My nails grow really fast. I'm sure that happens to some of you. But as I got older, they got a little brittle. So just last week, I've been taking this stuff for a couple weeks now, but just last week, since I showed the team yesterday, it was kind of gross. Since I've been taking this stuff, my nails are like freaking concrete and they grow really fast, and they usually kind of break off a little bit as I got older. Not anymore. I cut them last week, and look at them. Like, I cut them really short. And look, I don't know if it's, but ever since I've been taking this stuff, it's crazy how fast, how do I do that? They grow. I mean, I had to, look at that nail. My nails are never that long because I always cut them because they kind of break off, and I have a couple, but it is crazy. Does anybody else have that issue? And I think it's because of this stuff that I've been taking. That's what I think. That's just me. Don, they look radiant. So anyway, thank you so much for that. Beets, is that what it is? Beets does it. Okay, yeah, this stuff has beets in there. Is that really true that beets do that? Because I eat beets, but not as often as I have been lately. All the vitamins, all the vitamins in there. All right, so on to the business. So let's talk about, let me get back to the Trump administration, which is what we should be focusing on instead of focusing on Joe Biden, who, let's be honest, I hope he has many, many, many more, but the man is in his 80s. So, hey. All right. So here's the thing. The Trump administration will do anything they can to be racist, to rile up their right-wing racist base, the racist MAGA folks. And they love it. That is their thing. So I know people say always, all of MAGA is not racist. I will give you that. But as I have said, and I have not been shy about saying it, a big proportion of the MAGA crowd and Donald Trump supporters are racist. Just flat out. It is the truth. Don't pretend otherwise. Don't try to make excuses. Well, not everybody. Okay, not everybody. But even not everybody, even if you are not, you had to put up and overlook a lot of racist shit in order to support Donald Trump and to be a part of the MAGA movement. So, case in point, Donald Trump has he's on this tear about diversity, equity, and inclusion. He's on this tear about Harvard, especially Harvard, because Harvard is not backing down when it comes to their diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, their sense of equity and fairness in the world. And now, as you know, Donald Trump wants to take away funding and subsidies and all of those things, grants and what have you, to Harvard University, because they are the ones who are saying, we're not dealing with this stuff. The media is backing away. The media is saying, oh, well, sure, we'll do positive stories on you. We'll fire people who are not pro-Trumpers. We'll fire people who hold Trump folks, MAGA people, conservatives to account. We'll get rid of them. But Harvard is saying, nope, we're not doing that. You saw what happened to Target. Target said, yeah, we're going to do it. And then boom. Target is suffering financially because of it. Suffering financially because of it. And so let me just tell you what the Trump Justice Department is doing, according to the New York Times. I'm going to read the Times story. So, Justice Department to use False Claims Act to pursue institutions over diversity efforts. Now, this one is mainly they've been saying they're going to do this during her hearings. Pam Bondi said, we're gonna uphold this False Claims Act. And what are they doing it? They're doing it because what? Because they want civil rights, what they call it, for white people, is what they're saying. Now, everybody should have civil rights. I think you understand what I'm saying. They're using this in some sort of a reverse way, or the way that is usually used for the underserved in our country, for people of color, for women, for members of the LGBTQ community, for disabled people, for people who have not had access to the justice system and to the many of the rights and privileges that many white people in America have had. Institutional wealth over generations, over centuries, not having to be enslaved, not having to have their civil rights violated. And so now that the Trump Justice Department, and specifically Pam Bondi, is saying what? The Trump administration plans to leverage a law intended to punish corrupt recipients of federal funding to pressure institutions like Harvard to abandon their diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, Justice Department officials announced. This happened late Monday. This is not getting the amount of press that you would think it would get, and not the amount of press that it should be getting. When you look at people who are twisting the laws, it's the same people who twist the quotes and the speeches of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to say, oh, the content of their character and the color of their skin and whatever, but they don't talk about what Dr. King has said about white liberals or about white conservatives, for a matter of fact, and about people who uphold white privilege, or the idea of white privilege, because they really are the idea, of white supremacy. I take that back, of white supremacy. President Trump's political appointees at the department cited anti-Semitism on campuses as justification for using the law, the False Claims Act, to target universities and other institutions that Mr. Trump views as bastions of opposition to his agenda, and a right populist target to rile up his right-wing base. Now, this has nothing to do with actual civil rights, with actual fairness, with actual equity, with actual inclusion. This has to do, you are fighting my agenda, and I want to continue to keep the white racist vote in America, population, constituency. So therefore, I'm going to do everything to pander to them. And if you have someone who is uppity, who steps out of line, who says, I'm not going to be bothered with you, like the governor of Maine who said, I'll see you in court, and then won, then he's going to use every tool in the tool belt, even if he is falsely using it. He's going to use every tool to do what? To push his agenda through. And he's not going to do it by law, it's by executive order. So that's what he's going to do. Okay? Again, I'll read the last thing. It says Trump views these as bastions of opposition to his agenda and a right populist target to rile up his right-wing base. They forgot the word racist. Institutions that take federal money only to allow anti-Semitism to promote divisive DEI policies are putting their access to federal funds at risk, said the Attorney General Pam Bondi in a statement. This Department of Justice will not tolerate these violations of civil rights. Inaction is not an option. Now, I don't know if you guys remember that they dropped a lawsuit by the Biden administration against Georgia for the whole, for what they did during the election and election laws and for the suppression of black votes. The Trump administration came in this time, Pam Bondi, and dropped that case because they were not happy with, I guess, the outcome. And then now they want people to present citizenship cards or proof of identity, proof of citizenship in Georgia and everywhere, as a matter of fact. The department's use of a law is all but certain to be met with legal challenges. Last week, the Justice Department notified Harvard, which receives billions in government grants, of an investigation into whether its admissions process had been used to defraud the government by failing to comply with the Supreme Court ruling that effectively ended affirmative action. So they wanted to end affirmative action. And that's what they did at universities, at Harvard. The department would seek fines and damages in most instances where violations are found, but it will consider criminal prosecution in extreme circumstances, the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche warned in a memo to staff. Okay, speaking of memos, I want to put this up, Andy. This is a the memorandum that was sent out to across the country and sent out to all the attorneys general, and a memo to staff as well. Memorandum for the Office of the Associate Attorney General, Civil Division, Civil Rights Division, Criminal Division, Executive Office for United States Attorneys, all United States attorneys from the department, from the Deputy Attorney General. And here it is. The subject is Civil Rights Fraud Initiative under Attorney General Bondi's leadership. The Department of Justice is committed to enforcing federal civil rights laws and ensuring equal protection under the law. Attorney General memorandum ending blah, 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 blah. And then it goes on to say that what it's going to do. So here it says effective ways to accomplish this objective is through vigorous enforcement of the False Claims Act against those who defraud the United States by taking its money while knowingly violating civil rights laws. The False Claims Act is the Justice Department's primary weapon against government fraud, waste, and abuse. Liability results in terrible damages and significant penalties. It is implicated when a federal contractor or recipient of federal funds knowingly violates civil rights laws, including but not limited to Title IV, Title VI, and Title IX of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and falsely certifies compliance with such laws. Accordingly, a university that accepts federal funds could violate the False Claims Act when it encourages anti-Semitism, refuses to protect Jewish students, allows men to intrude into women's bathrooms, or requires women to compete against men in athletic competitions. Colleges and universities cannot accept federal funds while discriminating against their students. This is a bunch of made-up mumbo-jumbo hogwash to me. That's my opinion. Now, I'm going to get a legal opinion in just moments, but that is my opinion. And so, look, I could be wrong, but from what I know, for the most part, from my civics lesson and from elementary and junior high school, there are no laws about who and what bathrooms. That is something that we have in the United States so far has been sort of a grace or privilege that we allow men and women's restrooms. Most restrooms are unisex. But they want to use the law for that. Look, and I'm not saying that anybody should be going into anybody's bathrooms. I do not want men going into women's bathrooms. Do not get that wrong. But to use the laws in that way, something that is not even a law, right? There are codes in certain areas, but it is not a law. And they should all be unisex if they can, especially adult. I don't mean children's bathrooms. They should all be. In schools, it should be, I think, kids, boys and girls, that kind of thing. But as you get older, every time I go to a restaurant, it's unisex bathrooms. It is, for the most part, when you go to the bathroom, there are communal sinks where men and women can wash their hands, but men and women go into separate stalls. and close the doors behind them. I think that's a way to solve any issue. And it's such a small issue that it's not even an issue in America. And that's what we're dealing with. So this is what we're dealing with. The president of the United States said it from the beginning when he was inaugurated. He said what he was going to do. And some folks didn't believe it. And now they're effing around and finding out. This is what he said as it relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion.
We've ended the tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies all across the entire federal government and indeed the private sector and our military. And our country will be woke no longer.
Now, I would like him to explain what woke actually means. If anybody's out there can explain what woke means, I would suggest that you explain what woke means. So that is where we're going to start today and get some legal advice on what is happening. He's really mad at Harvard is what it is. And then we're going to show you others who are out here talking about fighting against diversity, equity, and inclusion. Okay? But now it's time for a word from our sponsors. And today we're happy to have one of our sponsors, a new one. We're happy to have support from ZBiotics. Now, I want to tell you about something that is a game-changing product that I use before a night out with drinks, and it's called a pre-alcohol. Now, I told you guys about this before they were even a sponsor. I told you about using this. I went out one evening. I had some ZBiotics before I went out because I knew that they were possibly going to be a sponsor. I tried it. I went out with a friend who is a wine connoisseur, and he serves us all these wines at tastings or whatever. And I said, I am going to try this stuff. And I tried it, and sure enough, I woke up the next day fresh as a daisy, came in here and spoke to you. You guys had no idea. It's called ZBiotics, the pre-alcohol probiotic drink. It is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink alcohol, it gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's a buildup of this byproduct is not dehydration as people think. And they're like, I got to jump dehydrated. I have to drink a lot of water to get rid of my hang up. It's not that to get rid of, my morning, whatever. It's not dehydration that's to blame for rough days after drinking. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow or the night or the morning after. That's what happened to me. I gave it a try. When I went out, I drank it before my first glass of wine, and I was on top of my game the next morning. Okay. So go to zbiotics.com/lemon, zbiotics.com/lemon to learn more about and get 15% off your first order when you use lemon to check out. So when you use lemon to check out, you'll get 15% off. ZBiotics is backed with 100% money back guarantee. So if you are unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/lemon and use the code LEMON at checkout for 15% off. Support for the show also comes from Shopify. You guys know we love Shopify around here. I've been talking to, by the way, the lady about our merchandise, the woman who's handling our merchandise, our merch, and we're setting up our e-commerce store, and we're doing it through Shopify, and you'll soon be able to get some Don Lemon merch via Shopify. So this podcast was a dream for me, right? To start my own business, and now you're listening to and watching my dream come true unfolding here. So starting your own business is a dream lots of us share. Too many of us it remains just a dream. Don't hold yourself back thinking, well, what if I don't have the skills? What if I can't do it alone? Well, you can turn those dreams into why nots with Shopify by your side. You can turn those dreams into a ka-ching. Shopify can help you with all kinds of templates with your business, strategies, email strategies, social media strategies, all kinds of things. It can help you get your site up and running. Our team at the Don Lemon Show knows as we work to launch our merch, we're going to be working with Shopify to make it happen. So turn those dreams into and give them the best shot at success with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/lemon. Go to shopify.com/lemon, shopify.com/lemon, and turn those dreams into, I love that ka-ching, ka-ching, into money. Do we have our legal eagle yet? No legal eagle yet?
Not yet.
Okay, we're waiting on our legal eagle. So that is what you heard before our sponsor break there. You heard the President of the United States at the fake State of the Union shortly after he was inaugurated, talking about what he's going to do with diversity, equity, and inclusion. They are so proud. The same person, members of his staff do it all the time, his appointees, like Pete Hegseth, and they're so gross and vile when they do it. They may as well just say, I'm a bigot. Here's Pete Hegseth talking about what they're going to do with diversity, equity, and inclusion, and they're not going to be woke anymore. Here it is.
Leaving wokeness and weakness behind. No more pronouns, no more climate change obsession, no more emergency vaccine mandates, no more dudes in dresses. We're done with that shit.
Okay, we've got to pause. Well, we're done with that. And then he gets a big applause. Okay, we're done with that shit. We better talk to Donald Trump. I wish we had that clip. If you guys can find it, please find me Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani. Or is it Rudy Giuliani in the dress? I don't know. It was Donald Trump in the dress as well. No more dudes in dresses. Somebody tell Rudy Giuliani that. No more pronouns. Well, who's going to call Pete Hegseth a he? How would we describe Pete Hegseth if there are no more pronouns? How would we do that? I don't know if there are no more pronouns. But as I've been saying, this entire thing is really about being upset with Harvard and this memorandum that they sent to all the attorneys general, the deputy attorneys general around the country too, is an interesting story. And I think more people should cover it. The False Claims Act. Let's bring an attorney now, Dina Dahl, who joins us. Dina, so glad that you're here. Thank you for helping us get through this story. Now, Dina, explain to me this False Claims Act that by the way, good morning to you. Good to see you. I think Dina is muted. Can we unmute Dina?
There we go.
So Dina, explain to us what is going on with this. This New York Times story just released this morning. This happened. They sent all of these memorandums or memos to attorneys general and deputy attorneys general around the country. What is going on here?
I mean, it's an extension of what we've been seeing now for quite some time there with Trump, which is using any tool in the toolbox in order to, clamp down on voices, that he doesn't want heard, essentially. Mm-hmm. And this is just another tool. They're saying that they're going to go after, even possibly criminally, they say. Mm-hmm. That, they might go after it with fines, but Attorney General Pambondi saying that they might even criminally prosecute universities using, they say, anti-Semitism. We know that that's really a broad word for them. And then also with any diversity, the DEI policies. So we are getting, the weaponization of the Department of Justice. We're well beyond that. We've been seeing Trump do that now for a while. But this fight between Trump and the universities is so important. I'm so glad you're covering it, because some people might think, okay, this is colleges. If you don't go to college, like, what does it matter? This is an elite institutions, let's say, right? But the reason why Trump is going after it is because our universities do so many critical things in our country. For one, they're the bedrock of our science research, which is why cutting into them is going to harm cancer cures and Alzheimer's cures. But it is true. This is where we have critical thinking. This is where policies come out. Think tanks sort of things are in universities all the time. He knows this. The Project 2025 knows this. And so it's really scary when these professors and academics who only went into this because of the level of learning now have threats of criminal prosecution if they don't do things like want to make their universities reflect the diversity of the society we live in. But this is very serious, and there's a very serious goal behind this with their Project 2025.
I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you very much. And I want you, do you mind responding to some of the sound bites that I'm going to play for you, and you can explain to us how this person is wrong or right, or maybe they do have a point. But first up, let me put, this is from PBS, and it's sort of a table setter for us to show what is happening here. We'll listen to it with Dina, and then we'll get back. Here it is.
Cancer Center.
Dr. Berger, you've been working for years on breast cancer research. Tell me, what type of research exactly are you doing and the type of progress that you've made?
In my lab, the ultimate goal of our research efforts is to find better ways to detect and to destroy cancer in its tracks. And the breast cancer research project that is funded by a National Cancer Institute grant that is currently frozen specifically aims to identify and profile the earliest precursors or harbingers of breast cancer before these precursors become cancer. So the goal then is to develop methods to detect these early precursors and then design treatments that prevent them from becoming cancer.
So that means, say, if someone had one of those, what's known as a BRCA gene, that you could help stop that in its tracks?
Yes, this would allow us to monitor the development of or the expansion of these early precursors.
Okay.
And even before we had treatments for them, we
All right,
could.
great. Okay, got it. So here, this is what happens at university. So, we were talking about the Trump administration is saying, well, they unfairly get these things and they're getting them, and nobody else, other folks in our society aren't getting these. But they're doing important things, as you said, like research, like trying to eradicate cancer or HIV or any other disease. And therefore, they need these monies and these grants to be able to fight that in the society. I mean, quite honestly, look, I have carpenters and roofers in my family, and they do great work, but they're not out here doing research that will help to eradicate diseases. Do you understand where I'm going with this?
Oh, I am so on the same page with you with this. We learn things every day, right?
Right.
This new thing, the more they dismantle, the more we learn about how I didn't even quite realize how much of a connection our science research has with universities. The fact is, not every country operates like this. If you go to Russia, they have communist labs, right? We don't have like a government lab in DC that's doing our research. We, in a maybe more unique way than anyone else in the country, have always partnered with our universities for science. The University of Michigan took 15 years to develop like an ultrasound to treat liver cancer lesions from anywhere in the body. It's like a breakthrough treatment that just was approved a year or two ago. It was a university that did it. When you start delving into this, which, those of us covering these things have, you realize this is what he is cutting. I think the Senate report said it's about 30%. His cuts, 30% of them are specifically to cancer research. Huge.
A Fox News guest argues that claims Harvard's funds are regressive. Here it is.
Corey, welcome. It's great to have you in D.C.
Hey, Mike, thanks for having me.
What's your reaction to the Harvard president saying he'll take a pay cut while there's this ongoing funding fight with the feds?
Oh, boo-hoo. Nobody's going to feel sorry for this guy. Look, he already makes over $1.1 million. So if you do the math on that pretty quickly, a 25% pay cut, he's still making over $800,000 a year as the president. He should lose more money than that. He's driven this institution into the ground. They're rife with anti-Semitism on campus, and they have this racist DEI structure and policies on campus. So, look, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. They should understand that actions have consequences, and a lot of people are surprised they even gotten any money at all from taxpayers. It's regressive policy that people who don't go to college are funding these elites at Harvard to spread their left-wing ideology. If you look at their campaign contributions, 95% of political campaign contributions from people affiliated with Harvard University go to Democrats. And a survey from their own student magazine found that fewer than 3% of teachers there or professors identify as conservative. So, Look, Harvard shouldn't get a penny.
Okay, Harvard shouldn't get a penny. Here's the thing, though. When he said play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. By the way, let me just tell you just how hypocritical these people are and the types of people who are out here. Look, and I'm not shaming anybody, but I just want you to know. Let's show this. This is at Corey DeAngelis. Corey DeAngelis is part of a very anti-LGBTQ group, but he comes out of a gay porn closet. But he is very anti-LGBTQ. His organization is as well, and he's on Fox News talking about liberals and hypocrisy and speaking out against members of the LGBTQ community. Someone in the chat says he's on the DL. I don't know if he's on the DL, but he's certainly being a hypocrite out there. So, anyways, I don't know if you want to respond to that, Dina. But what do you think of what he's saying about Harvard and its woke ideology and all that stuff?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's they love that term. They love the term the woke. They love, the fact is first of all, the party that sued Harvard, right, to take away affirmative actions was not white people, right? It was Asian Americans. If they did not try to reflect the makeup of our country, it wouldn't be a bunch of white people getting into Harvard. So I'm not sure if Corey even understands what he was even talking about there. But, it's just a lot of hate. It's a lot of hate. There is, and it's a lot of pretext because I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure. Maybe there's not as much pretext as there used to be. The fact that Trump is bringing in white Afrikaners saying that they deserve asylum at the same time as they're literally kicking out Venezuelans who had legal temporary protective status. I don't think there is a pretext anymore. It's just, they want everything to be more white, including their universities. And they're trying, in the meantime, they're going to make our loved ones suffer and die from diseases like cancer and Alzheimer's and diabetes and heart disease, because that is what our universities do.
I think your phone is ringing or someone's phone.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's a good mic.
It is a good microphone. The thing is, when you said you don't think Corey even understands what he's talking about, not even Donald Trump, who is out here saying it, understands what he's talking about. I don't know if you saw him recently in this town hall that was on Newsmax or News Nation or whatever. When asked about Harvard, he got confused about Harvard and Harlem. Maybe it was because he was speaking to a black man. I have no idea, but I want you to watch this.
Mr. President, thank you for your time. It's interesting that you brought up Harvard, because when people think about Harvard, what they're basically talking about is they're asking, what do you say to those who view your actions as an attack on academic freedom rather than a defense of fairness? What do you say to that?
Well, I say this: we had riots in Harlem, in Harlem, and frankly, if you look at what's gone on, and people from Harlem went up and they protested, Stephen, and they protested very strongly against Harvard. They happened to be on my side. I got a very high black vote. You know that. Very, very high black vote. It was a very great compliment to me. I did criminal justice reform. I did opportunity zones for one of the greatest economic deals ever for the black and Hispanic community. I got tremendous. They agree with what I'm doing with respect to Harvard. Harvard gets 4 or 5.
What is he talking about, Dina?
Himself, as usual, right? It's all about people talking about him and his protests and his size of his crowd. He's the most narcissist person, and the easiest person to understand, because at the end of the day is the only question you ever have to ask is, how does it affect him? What does he want to do in the moment? And you pretty much get the answer to everything.
I'm like, what the hell is he talking about there? I want to look this whole idea. What is this whole idea? This is because they mentioned bathrooms, right? What is their obsession with the bathrooms?
Oh my God. Unbelievable. I have no idea. I mean, California, Governor Jerry Brown, he's such a great governor here in California. We changed kind of the bathroom policy long time ago where, somebody can go, and there was crickets of issues for years and years and years. And obviously Republicans realize it's a winning issue. I mean, they were able to drum up enough fear. Isn't that what this always about? Isn't that way they always get it is fear because you live in a small town and you don't know somebody who identifies with a gender that they don't, in a body they were not born in. And if you never met that person, it's really easy to demonize them. And unfortunately for them, fear wins. I was a poll observer in Clark County just as a volunteer this past election. And you can campaign up to a certain point. And there was a school board member there, interacted with every volunteer. And she said, oh, we got to keep the girls at school and the boys, they're changing them at school. And I just thought, oh my gosh, this lady's like crazy. And the number of people who agreed with her when they went by really was shocking. And it made me think Harris was going to lose Nevada, which she did. But the fact is, fear works when you don't know somebody, unfortunately, for a lot of people.
Yeah, it does work for a lot of people. We played a soundbite just before you came on. Pete Hegseth saying we're going to get rid of men in dresses. But I wonder if he saw this video of Rudy Giuliani from, not that long ago, but from years ago. And I wonder how he feels about this. Watch it.
Look what we've uncovered. It's Giuliani showing his softer side dressed in drag in a comedy skit with Donald Trump.
You know, you're really beautiful.
The spoof was filmed 16 years ago when Giuliani was mayor of New York for a charity dinner, so it was all in good fun.
Oh, you dirty boy!
Oh my gosh. Oh. Of course he assaults her. Of course.
You said it. I did it. I mean, right?
Right. My gosh.
And then also we have the current vice president of the United States also in drag and in a dress as well. And so Pete Hegseth is out here saying we're going to get rid of men in dresses. Shouldn't he start where he is, right, in his own administration?
It's always a reflection, right? Everything they say is about them. Always.
So Dina, before I let you go, what happens with this the False Claims Act? Is there? I mean, there's going to be a lot of courtroom drama when it comes to this, correct?
Yes, absolutely. If you're not a member of the ACLU, maybe this is the time because they are on overdrive with their lawsuits. They've done a great job. We're going to see the ACLU and maybe also some states attorney generals, depending on which universities are targeted and where. We will definitely see a lot of lawsuits, and they have been a lot of them have been successful. The justice system is showing itself to have some strength in standing up to Trump.
Dina Dahl, thank you. Always a pleasure.
Oh, it's great being here.
Thank you.
For sure.
Dina Dahl, everyone. The famed attorney. By the way, someone said show Bruce, or they were saying shoe Bruce. I think they're trying to tell our Peter to show Bruce, but I think you mean, we don't want to misgender anybody, but Caitlyn Jenner, who was also, someone could, under their interpretation of what transgender is, you would say is a man in a dress, right? That's what they would say. So all of those, they're such hypocrites, such freaking hypocrites, because it only matters when it's other people or when they're trying to get what they believe is their agenda across. MAGA is some of the most fucking hypocritical people I've ever met. And by the way, this Corey DeAngelis, again, this whole guy who's so anti-LGBTQ, again, anti-LGBTQ extremist Corey DeAngelis comes out of gay porn closet. Let's scroll up a little bit. And so he is a part of this anti-LGBTQ group. Let's go back to right there. Corey DeAngelis, a prominent opponent of public schools and critic of LGBTQ rights in education, publicly admitted to his past involvement in gay adult films during an interview with the Christian Broadcasting Network. So there you go. It's just evidence. Am I lying to anyone? And is the gay MAGA trolls, are you guys upset because I'm telling the truth? I thought you liked the truth and you like free speech. I thought you were free speech absolutists. Aren't I free to tell the truth about people's past? Look, J.D. Vance, the current vice president, in a dress. Rudy Giuliani, MAGA extraordinaire. dressed in drag. Donald Trump sticking his face in Rudy Giuliani's cleavage. I'm just saying. And then Corey. If you want to, you can check the interwebs and see what Corey's doing for yourself. So there you go. Okay, so now a word from our sponsors. And by the way, before we get to our sponsors, I'm going to have something that is extremely that you want to see on the other side of this. And you're going to hear from the former president, Joe Biden, and it is very touching. And so you want to stay tuned to that because I think it's important. I started the show off by saying, you know what? We need to give Joe Biden a little respect on this program, starting, the program with some respect and condolences to his family, rather than out here trying to make Joe Biden seem like some evil, mean man. Remember, who was the president? What's the president? I forget. Which president died in office? Crap. Why can't I think of a name? Anyways, we were talking about it yesterday with my family. And President Reagan had Alzheimer's in office. Nancy Reagan used to finish his sentences. FDR. Wilson, that's it. So anyways, look, Roosevelt was in a wheelchair. Wilson died in office, I believe. Okay, so listen, support from for the program today comes from, as you guys know, 120 Life, which is my thing right now. So thank you for your support of the Don Lemon Show, 120 Life. Do you know that high blood pressure is the #1 risk factor for mortality? 1 in 2 adults has it. That is a 50% chance that you are a walking time bomb. 120 Life is a blend of great tasting superfruit juices that have been shown to actually help lower your blood pressure. It is not just for high blood pressure. It's also beneficial for other health conditions like diabetes. 120 Life is trusted by healthcare professionals, with hundreds of doctors recommending it to help manage blood pressure naturally. It provides visible, measurable changes in blood pressure. You can use a simple monitor at home to track the progress for a limited time now. 120 Life. You can try it to save 20% off. You go to 120life.com and use the code DON at checkout. 120life.com. 120 Life offers a risk-free trial with a full refund if you don't see lower numbers in 2 weeks. So go to 120life.com and use the code DON, D-O-N, to save 20%. There's nothing to lose except your high blood pressure number. So go to 120life.com and use the code DON to save 20% off. Remember, you must use the code DON to get this special offer. Remember, guys, this is serious. This is your life we're talking about, and 120 Life can help. Also, I want to talk to you about something that is very important right now, and a very important, not only a very important message to get out, but very important for women around the world. And when you think about all the cuts that's happening to USAID and all those things, and someone who has traveled the world, someone who has gone and done and have done work in Africa and visited hospitals in Africa, I know just how important this work is, and I know just how vulnerable women are, not only in the United States, but even more vulnerable in places all around the world. So I want to tell you about what is happening right now. And this is support from the show comes from MSI United States. Okay. And women are facing a major crisis. Cuts to foreign aid for modern safe contraception are putting lives in jeopardy. MSI Reproductive Choices is an international charity that has been providing vital care to women in 36 countries for years. MSIUnitedStates.org has launched a Choice Emergency Fund. They've done that because they want to replace USAID funding cuts. Again, this is very, very important. Millions of women are being stripped of basic health care and left to face life or death consequences alone. This year, nearly 90,000 women will die from pregnancies they never planned because they lacked choices. MSI opens doors, it breaks down stigma, and it makes sure that every woman can decide her own future. At MSIUnitedStates.org, MSIUnitedStates.org, you can go for just $6.50. You can give a woman the power to choose her future. 1 full year of contraception, 1 year of hope for just $6.50. So I would encourage you to give what you can, okay? Because you care. Give because every woman deserves a choice. A choice. So you can rush your tax deductible donation today to msiunitedstates.org or text LEMON, LEMON, to 511-511. Text LEMON to 511-511, and text fees may apply. Okay? So think it this way. This is how you do it. I want you to go to msiunitedstates.org. That's M as in modern. That's M, as in modern, S as in safe, and I as in informed, unitedstates.org. Okay? And use LEMON, or you can text LEMON to 511-511. Okay? So thank you so much for that. Thank you to our sponsors. And that is a very important message, and I want you to help those folks. Okay, so let's talk about the former president of the United States, Joe Biden. So look, I hate to be all holier than thou and going on a kick, and I'm not going after anybody. I'm just saying this is my job as a journalist and someone who is, I believe, tasked with telling the truth and also conveying what's out in the world. And that is, can we focus? Oh, someone says, I want to hear about Cory Booker. Ooh, Cory Booker voted yes on Kushner. We'll talk about that. But Joe Biden is a sick man. He's old, no surprise. And considering what's happening to him right now and to his family, we wanted to play this. This is from CBS. CBS re-released this of Joe Biden speaking to, was it his 10-year-old self? Am I correct with that? Or speaking to, what would he do? I think as to his 10-year-old self. And this is Joe Biden from a few years ago. Watch.
Joe Biden was just 29. He became one of the youngest people ever elected to the U.S. Senate, and he has remained a member of the federal government in the 44 years that followed. Now at age 73, Biden, the 47th Vice President of the United States, looks back on a remarkable career and life in our Emmy-nominated series, Note to Self.
Dear Joe, you're only 12. Your stutter is debilitating. It embarrasses you, and the bullies are vicious. But listen to Mom when she says, bravery resides in every heart, and yours is fierce and clear. Listen to Dad when he says, Joey, when you get knocked down, get up. Get up. Because if you listen, you'll summon the bravery to overcome the stutter, and you'll learn to stand up to bullies. You'll learn from Dad, who moved the family to look for work, that a job is about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect.
Hi, how are you?
Hi,
Joe
how are
Biden's
you?
my name.
Okay, pause, please.
And that's why you'll...
So it's his 12-year-old self. So pardon me for that. But and back it up just a little bit. This is because people have a short memory, right? You forget the good that people do. And somehow people become obsessed, and they somehow, the opposition or the enemies, people allow the voice of the opposition or the voice of the enemies to define people. And I don't think that should happen to Joe Biden. Is Joe Biden a perfect man? No. Is there criticism to go around? Yes. But for all of us, none of us is perfect. Not one of us is perfect. But as you think about, Joe Biden has spent the bulk of his life. You saw that one of the youngest people elected to the Senate and our public office in general, and how he has fought for that. And so I think he deserves dignity and not disgusting, cringe criticism in what is possibly, I'm just going to be honest, his final days or years. Let's put it that way. And I think this is a Joe Biden that we should remember. So this is him. He's writing a note to his 12-year-old self, starting off with a 12-year-old self, talking about his stutter and how he had to overcome that and what he had to do. So here it is.
Hi, how are you?
Hi,
Joe
how are
Biden's
you?
my name.
And that's why you'll follow your heart and serve your community, your state, and your country. And intolerance for the abuse of power will drive you to stand up for civil rights.
Damn it, we have favorites in South Africa. The favorites in South Africa are the people who are being repressed.
And because you listened, you'll live a life fully consistent with what you were taught by mom and dad and your faith. That you should say what you mean and mean what you say. Leading by the power of example will define you. And one day, you'll find yourself forging a relationship with the Jesuit Pope who embodies that universal truth. But you'll also learn early and later in your life that reality has a way of intruding.
His wife and daughter were killed in an automobile accident, and his 2 young sons severely injured.
For the first time in my life, I understood how someone could consciously decide to commit suicide.
He was sworn in the hospital at my bedside. As a single parent, he decided to be there, to put us to bed, to be there when we woke up from a bad dream.
One day you'll be on top of the world.
I'm Beau Biden, and Joe Biden is my dad.
Only to be brought down in a flash with a profound loss and a grief that leaves a black hole in your heart, questions of faith in your soul, and anger beyond rage.
That's Joe Biden's son. Considering what has transpired in my life over the past couple of weeks, I don't think people understand what it's like to lose, especially for a parent to lose a child. It's not supposed to happen that way. And having conversations with my mother over the past couple of weeks, and even over the past couple of years, because this is the second child that my mother has lost. And that is a pain that no one can understand. I said this at my sister's funeral when I gave the eulogy, that was a club that nobody wanted to join. It's a rare club, the people who outlive their children. And it is a pain that you don't, unless you've heard a parent cry, that wail that comes it's like guttural that comes from deep within, then you don't understand. And so I think this is the wrong time and the wrong moment to be doing what people are doing as it relates to the former president.
Beau Biden passed away from brain cancer. His illness had not been widely publicized.
Parents never expect to have a child predecease them. Never. That's when you'll have to dig deep and live what mom taught you. That out of everything terrible that happens, something good will come if you look hard enough. You'll hold on with faith and pure grit. You'll be blessed with a love that will anchor you as deeply as your faith. I love you. You're the love of my life and the life of my love. Your bond with your children and your grandchildren will be your redemption. Because of a family grounded in unconditional love and loyalty and the compassion of friends and strangers, you'll get up, you'll keep going, and you'll give back. You'll realize that countless people have suffered equally or more.
Thank you.
With much less support and much less reason to want to get back up. But they do. They get up. They keep going. And so must you. You'll learn what it means to be an American. There is no quit in America. Being there for your family and your friends, serving your country, building real relationships, even with people with whom you vehemently disagree.
I appreciate the Vice President's willingness to get this done for the country.
That's America, made up of ordinary people like you capable of doing extraordinary things. And one day, when you graduate from law school, you'll decide to become a public defender.
That march will not continue.
In the midst.
Okay. I don't think people understand. Look, this is black and white footage. You understand the life that Joe Biden has led. And I keep saying, I'll say it again and again and again. Nobody is perfect. And we tend to look at things through the lens in which we are right now. And people don't look at things through history. Like there's a history to things. And people may operate in different times in a way that they would not do in the moment. And so for someone to have lived through this and have somehow was able to figure out how to navigate through Jim Crow and the civil rights movement and then become president of the United States, I think that deserves praise, and not more praise than criticism. Everything can be criticized. Remember, he is a public servant. He is in the public eye. He is a former president of the United States. Of course, he deserves criticism. Everyone does. But I think it's time to read the room. And some people don't know how to read the room right now. And I think we should be, instead of criticizing the former president, we should be praising him for and thanking him for what he's done for the world.
You'll decide to become a public defender.
That march will not continue.
In the midst of the epic struggle for civil rights, you'll be walking the streets of the east side of Wilmington, much of which has been burned to the ground after your heroes were assassinated.
Dr. Martin Luther King, the apostle of nonviolence in the civil rights movement, has been shot to death in Memphis, Tennessee.
But 40 years later, you'll stand on the train platform of Wilmington overlooking the east side. Wilmington and the nation will no longer be in flames, but awaiting a new ripple of hope.
It's been a long time coming, but tonight, change has come to America.
You'll be waiting for a young black man inspired by the dream of a king, coming from Philadelphia to pick you up, take you on a 124-mile trip to Washington to be sworn in as President and Vice President of the United States of America.
I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear.
Together, you'll prove that change is hard but necessary. Progress is never easy, but always possible.
I hate to keep stopping this, but I like to give context. I don't know if you guys remember. I was there. I was on the train I came from New York to Washington, D.C. Just before the inauguration. I was on the Amtrak train before them. And people couldn't believe it. It was a time in our country for extraordinary hope. I mean, everyone says hope and change, where we thought, hey, maybe America is moving in the right direction. And it did for a while. But not all progress is linear on a straight line. It's ups and downs, right? Sometimes we go back. I believe that we have gone really far back now. And to be quite honest with you, some will say, well, Joe Biden should not have run. He should have gotten out earlier and perhaps we wouldn't be here. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I'll leave that to the historians to decide that. But I remember this time and all of the struggles that Joe Biden and Barack Obama went through at trying to make America a more progressive place. And I don't mean more progressively liberal or whatever. I mean, to progress into the future, to evolve into the future and not to go back to the past as we are going now. And my mom just reminded me, she just texted me, she said, and I had forgotten about it. I know he called me, but Joe Biden called my mom when my sister passed. And I missed the call. And she said he left an inspiring voicemail. And so talk about a good man who never forgot where he came from and did not. I would consider myself and my mom, the little people. Do you know what I mean? Not really, but you understand what I'm trying to say here. And he never forgot that. And so we have to remember things. Yet one has to have a sense of history and a sense of wisdom. And I do believe that the young people now, especially the young folks who are, even those who are carrying the journalism torch, they're young. They don't have a lot of wisdom. They don't have a lot of history behind them. A lot of those people they're getting rid of, the folks who remember these things and who were there. Like I said all the time, I remember when our president was left office on an airplane, on a helicopter, because he was pushed out of office because of Watergate. I remember the Watergate hearings, Vietnam on the news, all of those. You have to have a sense of history in order to be able to understand what's happening in the world.
Believe in change because I believe in you.
And things do get better on our march toward a more perfect union. That's the history of the journey of America. And believe it or not, because you listen to Mom and Dad, you'll help write it. Keep the faith, Joey.
Oh man, the sound you hear is the boxes of Kleenexes that are pulling out, because I don't know anybody that doesn't.
Yeah, that was a couple years back. So anyways, thank you, CBS, for doing that. And I think that this is the perfect time to remember and the perfect time to have some sense of pride in our country, and that not everything, just because it's an opportunity, that it is one worth taking. And I know that because I've made some mistakes, and I've thought some things were opportunities that were not. And so this is a good time for us to remember that, and a good time to reflect on what is good about the country, and that it actually offers people who have a stutter, who come from poor beginnings, humble beginnings, who were not born with silver or gold spoons in their mouths or gold toilets under their asses, that you too can become president of the United States by being a decent human being and not disparaging people all the time and not being a selfish asshole. And if I'm talking about Trump, just in case anybody is confused about that. So thank you guys for joining us today. By the way, make sure you become a member. Make sure you become a subscriber, and make sure you hit the like and the thumbs up and support us, because we are about telling the truth. And I love being here that I can do this. There was a time when I could not do this. So welcome to all of our new members. Thank you for all of our great supporters. Thank you for Dina Dahl for joining us. And thank you, Joe Biden, for your service, not only to your family, to your loved ones, to the country, but to the world. So have a seat, Joe Biden. Chill out and fuck the haters. Turn the TV off.
Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support, and we will see you next time.